I'm Chad Rutherford,
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
and welcome to NOCLIP Pocket. Roll that beautiful bean footage. Today, we're going to be talking about The Bunker, a game that was developed by Splendy Games, published by Wales Interactive, and was released in 2016 on Windows, OS X, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch.
But first, if you give us a like or a rating, it would be greatly appreciated.
So I want to get some new information out up front. This is a game, an FMV game.
Adventure game.
Yeah. Very little. We'll get into why it has very little in terms of the actual adventuring that happens. But I found out literally today, on the day of recording, that there is a game coming out tomorrow called Amnesia: The Bunker.
I also found out about this today.
Yeah.
When looking up the information.
Which is funny because we talked about Amnesia, the game, that is a sequel to, and have maybe caused some unnecessary confusion with this one. But that is not that game. In fact, most likely, these will be two extremely different games, though I don't know much about Amnesia: The Bunker just yet. So yeah, just, if you came here looking for that game, oopsie.
Get out.
Not here. But do leave a like and subscribe on the way out. So yeah, The Bunker. We played this game a couple of weeks ago. A couple of months ago? I don't remember how long it's been.
It feels more recent than that to me. I would have said like a week and a half ago.
It was...
Let's go with 2 weeks.
But yeah,
it doesn't matter.
We played it a bit ago. And when we were deciding what to put in for NoClip Pocket, we were like, oh yeah, that's a game we already played. So let's just do that real fast and kick that one out. Because it meant that we didn't have to spend time on it when there were other things. I did end up spending time on the game today, in that I rewatched the entire game. And there's a lot actually more to talk about than I maybe thought, which is good.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of sweating this one, potentially.
Right.
So this is an FMV game, full motion video, that is... It follows a narrative, and you occasionally interact in order to move the story forward in a sort of... with the amount of interaction that you might assign to turning the page in a book. Very simple, just press a button sort of things to move on. And then there are a few choice moments in it. Not moments that are like, chef's kiss, perfect. Like, moments where you make a decision.
Right. So I guess one thing I wanted to talk about up top is, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't feel like I've played a modern FMV game. Most FMV games I've played were made in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I think, gives it a different feel. Like, this game feels a lot more like you're just playing through an indie movie.
Yeah.
Or something. I feel like it definitely feels different than FMV used to feel.
Yeah, it feels different than Realms of the Haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like more... I don't even... There's nothing we've talked about that I would say that this is more similar to. Because it isn't, really. This is a
like
different
Night
kind
Trap.
of thing. Night Trap is what I was going to say. In that, like, it feels more like the actual narrative was being paid the most attention to, more so than any other element of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like, one of the things to note about this, like, before we go anywhere with it, is if there's a selling point to this game, which I don't know how you're going to shake out on this, but, like, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of how I feel about this game is, I'm pretty medium on it, but I think that it is a low enough barrier to entry that it's kind of an interesting thing to look at, especially if you haven't seen real people walking around on your screen in a while. the production value on this game is actually just way higher than you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
For several reasons.
Yeah. It seems like they may have had actual access to a real bunker. Like a
Yes.
nuclear shelter bunker.
I don't know if that is strictly actually true,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say that the sets are probably like the single most impressive thing about this game.
Yeah.
I do believe that you're correct that they had to have had access to something that at least resembles a bunker.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say probably yes, an actual bunker. But they also have props and things that they've made it up with that really nail it into the sort of like time period that, like, presumably the game takes place like modern day.
Yeah, it's like an alternate history thing where like the
Right.
Cold War resulted in nuclear war.
Correct. Yeah. Though it became a hot.
Yeah, it became a very hot war.
Yeah, afterward. And then a Cold War again when it entered nuclear winter.
Of course.
Yeah. Such are the ways of war.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's hot, then it's cold. It's yes, and it's no,
No.
etc., etc.
it's the USSR.
Mm-hmm.
So, then it's Russia. Anyway, that yeah, and they managed to use props to nail down like the idea of like they went underground 60 years ago, or however long it's been.
Your character is 30. Like
Mhm.
he was born in the bunker and is 30 in the present day. That of like what you're playing. So I think it's 30 years after.
Yeah. So you've been under for 30 years, and I think with that, like taking that into account, the settings, the sets, and the setting
Mm-hmm.
mesh well.
The sets and the set dressing.
Exactly. It's I don't know. I was gonna make some kind of joke about ranch or something. I got nothing.
Uh-huh. So I guess one thing that I found interesting is I think this game sets up its narrative well. It's an intriguing idea. It's like a character who's been born in this bunker and it doesn't know anything outside of it. And when you start, you're the only one alive and your mother is on her deathbed.
Right.
And it starts out with this you're going through like his daily routine, like he just does the same thing every day, and this really reminded me of Broken Age, the Double Fine adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part in the beginning of that when you're playing as the male character where you're going through a routine, and like the puzzle to it is that you have to realize that it is a puzzle and you have to break out of the routine. And it really felt like it was setting up for something like that to me. And I think it's really interesting. Like it really, like I found like it to be really intriguing, and like there was some kind of like greater mystery, or like there were going to be more puzzles, is how it felt at the start. And it ended up not being like that.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of disappointingly so. I think that this game could have, like, when we talk about this is going to be so much more film criticism than we would typically do.
Yeah.
Because the interactivity of this game is so low.
Yeah, so if you are a fan of like visual novels, like it's much more you're just playing through a narrative.
But even more so than a visual novel, you are following much more of a set path.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have those characteristics of the sort of choose your own adventure style genre, and is more of a straightforward narrative that only has a couple of diverging points.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of an element of like exploration and like mapping out a space.
Yeah. Yeah, the movement and the fact that they're collectibles are the things that I would say most make this feel like it has the interface of essentially a point and click game.
Yeah.
And you use that interface to go into different rooms, and you can find things and actually
And then environmental storytelling.
Right, which is good, and they incentivize it with the collectibles. You'll stumble across things that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, like the little figurines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember if they're like soap figurines or wood carvings.
They
or...
are wood carvings.
Yeah, like he like whittles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks at one point about how he would take wood from, like, some room, and it, like, made it all sort of come into focus to me that this kid just, like, learned whittling, which is a thing that no one has done in 100 years.
Maybe he had a book about it or something.
That's true. It wasn't a very good book, because
Yeah.
all of his toys look the same.
Yeah, but it does seem like he only had 3 books, which were Treasure Island,
Yeah,
the Bible, and, like, some kind of technical manual.
Yeah, I forget exactly what it is,
Yeah.
but it is just a tech manual.
Yeah, and, like, that even feels interesting to me to bring it back around. Like, the top, they give you the choice of, like, what book you're going to read to your mom on her deathbed. She, like, I don't remember if she asks you to read to her or if he just thinks that would be a nice thing to do. But yeah, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this will, like, affect anything or, like, it's going to, like, inform the character, like, you know, his personality or something. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I think it just sets up a lot of intrigue. And the story itself is interesting and has elements of mystery to it, but it doesn't quite deliver like a mystery, like on the kind of level of like a Broken Age or like a mystery game or like a 999 or something that has like a heightened like misdirects and left turns and is more focused on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it has the sort of twists in it that are good in film, because that is primarily what this game is, and not the kind that are good for players of a video game.
Yeah.
Because if you play a game that has a mystery in it, you want the satisfaction of being able to put the pieces together yourself, and this wants to tell a more shocking story. So while there are elements that obviously you can figure out because the breadcrumbs are there, there's mostly it is just on rails, and it'll reveal things as they become relevant. I think the biggest example of which is, and now we're going to go into spoilers, by the way, so if you haven't played it and you want to watch a movie but also click a few buttons because it sounds interesting.
Yeah. To continue with the dumb thing I said on a recent episode, this is a good hanging out game.
Yeah.
If you want to like play something with someone else.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you get some beers out, you sit around, you watch this, and somebody takes the reins.
Yeah.
But yeah, so most notably, I think the jar of chemicals that your mother uses to kill the remaining people in the base is it jumps pretty quickly from like, oh, she's using chemicals for something, to like 2 minutes later being like, she killed everyone. The whole base has been murdered. And it is shocking, like in the moment, and it, amazingly is not the end of the game. There, it does continue from there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, there's not really a good way for you to put those pieces together, at least from a casual viewing, especially in the context of a game where you might be trying to figure stuff out based on entirely other elements of the plot.
Yeah, like, I did not refresh on the story, and we did play it, like, at least 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to remember, like, I felt like the mom definitely came off as suspicious, and I know she set up the son, or the main character, to, like, survive.
Yeah.
But I did not remember her specifically killing everybody. But, yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah. To do a rehash of the plot, because I imagine a lot of the people who are listening to this probably don't really have any intention of playing the game.
Right.
So if you're here and that's you, we knew about it. Wink, wink. You couldn't get you couldn't get one past me.
Yeah. See, in my head, it's more the way I would have probably remembered it is that she foresaw or knew about some kind of, like, I don't know, leak or something wrong with the bunker that would kill everybody. and instead of trying to save everyone, which she knew she couldn't do, she was going to make sure that her son would live. Oh, it's that they only had enough resources for one person to survive for 30 years, or for everybody to survive, like, I don't know, like 2 or something.
Yeah, I think if I remember the specifics correctly, the base, which is being run by a guy who is very much a let's keep the information from people, we don't want them to panic, and then eventually they'll just die and we won't have to worry about it anymore.
A classic, like, Sergeant McBad guy.
Yeah. But he's got. We'll talk about him.
Yeah,
I like his character, and I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But he is trying to keep under wraps the fact that they, due to unforeseen circumstances, they need to stay in the bunker for 30 years, and they have enough food and resources to last for 14 months.
Right.
Right. So, in an effort to keep her son alive, and I guess out of just a sheer disdain for everybody else on the planet, she organizes a way to kill the rest of them so that he could maintain all the resources himself.
All right, yeah.
And then imbues in him this idea of the routine so that he doesn't go into the lower levels, which are contaminated with radiation.
So he doesn't leave, yeah.
Right.
It's all coming back now.
Yep. So yeah, that is the plot synopsis, essentially. Your player character has very little agency, which is funny because it is the player character, but it makes a lot of sense in the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Jinx.
Nice. I'll go get a Coke for you.
The crisp, refreshing taste of Coca-Cola. Anyway, you know what else has a crisp, refreshing taste?
What's that?
Baked beans.
Oh, yeah. So part of this guy's routine, this is a very small detail that is unavoidable. Part of his routine is to eat dinner, which makes sense. You gotta eat to live. And he has like several canned goods that he can choose from, but I guess he just always eats beans. And he eats those beans while sitting on a toilet. And, like, I can see casually sitting on a toilet because you're in a survival bunker and there's not a whole lot of places to rest. Mm-hmm. But he's sitting on the toilet with his pants down.
Eating the beans.
Eating the beans. As if they just go right through his digestive system. Or he's got his schedule synced up that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that, like, seems like it couldn't not be a joke. Like something that's supposed to be funny, because even like the way he's sitting is like very humorous. Like he's like as if he's actively shitting almost.
Yeah,
like he's like, you know, slumped down with his elbows on his knees.
Just eating a blank.
Yeah,
can of beans.
But it's so matter of fact though.
Yeah.
Like as if it's like supposed to be referencing something. Like, you know, you eat beans on the toilet in a bunker. You know, like it feels really weird tonally.
Did you miss that day of bunker etiquette training?
Yeah, like obviously you eat the beans on the crapper.
It's the only possible place to eat the beans.
Yeah,
and it's just real weird. It's implied that he also has like peaches or whatever, like canned
corn
foods.
or something. Corn.
But just they only ever show him eating beans.
Mm-hmm, they only filmed the one.
Yeah,
food.
And he even makes a kind. He's like, boring old beans again.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I don't know why I just now thought of this, but I'm pretty sure the main actor was in the Hobbit movies, which is just a fun fact.
That is what I was looking up at the very beginning of this episode because I wanted to be able to pull it out.
As I thought about him sitting on the toilet, you know, I just imagined his face very clearly.
Yeah, and it's amazing because his face is not very clear on his own IMDb page.
Is he wearing like the dwarf makeup from the Hobbit?
Boy, he sure is.
Yep. Yeah, I was pretty sure he was that dwarf.
Yeah.
So
he
is recognizable, kinda.
Yeah, he played Ori in The Hobbit. His name is Adam Brown, and he is one of 3 actors that are credited that have a photo on IMDb showing that they've done some amount of work.
Yeah.
And I say that not to disparage the rest of the actors in the game, because you can tell that the fact that some of them had done any work at all has put them like head and shoulders, and probably the rest of them, over literally any other FMV game I've ever played.
Yeah.
The acting in this is good.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the what I said at the beginning. Like, it just feels like an indie movie.
Yeah.
That is also a video game. Yeah, like it feels like they had an actual like movie studio and crew and everything, in addition to being a development studio. And yeah, like they new actors that they could cast in it, and et cetera, et cetera. And they had like a budget for all that stuff. Yeah, it's actually well done.
Yeah, just shockingly so. And I think it's honestly shocking just because of the association that you have with FMV.
Yeah, you expect them to not have budget for that, and to like have to hire people who are like in like acting programs who like need to boost their resume or whatever, who are acting in the FMV.
Yeah, it's how you get people like Steve from Harvester in your game. Who and it's funny because like a lot of the times they're those actors who we really like. The guy from fucking Tales or
Tales from the Crypt.
Like the guy from Tales from the Crypt.
Realms of the Haunting.
Yeah. The guy from Realms of the Haunting. That they feel like these iconic performances in a cheesy kind of way, and that's what we like about them. But when you come to something like this, where it's done well, the result for me anyway, and we'll converse, is like almost an uncanny valley situation where I'm now starting to question how necessary the interactivity was, if that is the novelty that would have sold it. Because like this is a movie that I probably wouldn't have paid to see. And it is a game that I wouldn't pay to play, but having both of them together added sort of just this like weird nuance to it that I was like, I want to see how this pans out.
Yeah, it definitely, it feels like a different thing than what you're used to thinking of FMV as, I think. Like, it doesn't have the same charm as the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also kind of don't know how to feel about it. I think if the game treated itself as more of a game, I think it would be a big positive. But yeah, like it's so much of just like a linear story that I think, yeah, it does kind of feel like it probably should have just been a movie. But I don't know.
Yeah. And like a lot of people say that disparagingly to games that just like have too many cutscenes or something, or like take more
like a Kojima game.
Yeah, like a Kojima. I hear that. I've heard that since I basically was old enough to read, because I was a Metal Gear fan for a long time, and a lot of people Kojima making a movie again.
Hour and a half cutscene. We're like, just make a movie.
Yeah, seriously. But in this case, it's like, yeah, I think it shouldn't have just been a movie, because I don't think that this as a movie is outstanding enough to do anything. But this as a game, if they had leaned more into it, then I think it would be a much more interesting thing. It still is interesting. But then I also found out today that this publishing company sells a bundle on Steam with 11 of these.
Oh, wow.
So there are apparently 11 at least of this type of like lightly interactive narrative films, all from the same production company. You get them for like $50.
Yeah, and like it's weird too, because like I don't know, I really like interactive stories. I think maybe more than like the average stereotypical video game player.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I just, the fact that it is a like interactive movie, I think is interesting. And kind of like what you're saying, it's kind of hard to describe, but like as if it was just a movie, it would be not very notable. But just like the fact that it's packaged as a game makes it seem like 3 times more interesting.
Right.
It's kind of hard to describe, but it's another weird thing that I was thinking about. It also kind of reminds me, even though it's like much more high quality, but like of like old TV, in a way that like I remember like in elementary school, for some reason, the music slash computer teacher would always play movies.
Yes.
Very often. She had like a whole like thing of them behind her desk. And I just remember like she had all these weird like cheap movies that feel like they were like made real like scrappily, and like when like more like smaller movie studios used to, or not, but television studios used to be more common. Like a town might just have one that they do like local stuff in. And I don't know, they just feel like very Wild West, like very, yeah, like I said, scrappy and very like
Very Tomes and Talismans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very Tomes and Talismans, very like handcrafted, and like we're just doing the best we can and like really trying. And there's like something endearing about it. Yeah. And like FMV, I think, carries that with it, even if it's done now and looks really good.
Right.
It's still like, yeah, like we were talking about, like they, I think, hit the lottery in that they either had people who can make amazing sets or access to a real nuclear bunker to set the thing in, which I think adds so much like value to it.
Yeah. Yeah, the production value is very, very good. Like, I think honestly the things that suffer the most in terms of like its actual presentation are music and sound effects and the lighting.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, and it's
sound effects are very hard.
It's exactly the things that you would expect to bring down like a local podunk production as well, because it's like these are things that people specialize in, and those people don't just hang out in fucking northern Wales or wherever this was filmed. Necessarily. They could be there, but are you gonna find somebody who's just like a grip in their spare time? Probably not. Like, so you have to push what connections you have to get something made on this low a budget, and I do see that. I feel like, yeah, FMV is carrying the torch that PBS lit.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know. One other thing that I wanted to talk about, sort of in the realm of haunting. God, it's inescapable. In the realm of like what makes this, what surprised me about this game, I guess. The game is called The Bunker, and the thumbnail for the game is like the words "the bunker," like the bottom third of the image, and then it is a silhouette of a guy in a gas mask holding an axe.
It kind of reminded, is it The Thing?
It is like
it looks like The Thing poster.
Or like My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
but it's like backlit. And,
yeah,
you know,
heavy backlighting. So yeah, it's completely obscured. It's just a pure silhouette, and it made me think that the game was going to be like much cheesier than it actually is, which is kind of shocking to me. But it reminds me of those things that you would find that were really trying to sell the like hokey B-movie horror thing. And it's funny that this mimics its aesthetic so well in all of its advertising, when the game itself is, I mean, it is almost definitionally a B-movie, but it is not nearly as, like, schlocky and bad. But how do you think that this fares in terms of its sort of pedigree as a horror game?
I mean, I guess it is one.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't really think of it that way, personally. It feels more like a mystery.
Yeah.
It's like maybe sci-fi. But, yeah, it just kind of feels like a drama mystery.
Yeah, because most of the story itself is told through flashback.
Yeah, or maybe, like, weird fiction.
Something along those lines. Yeah, like it was weird to me because I was thinking about it for my whole like rewatch of the thing. Not the never mind. We talked about the thing. Now I can't say those words anymore. For my entire rewatch of it, I kept thinking like, was this scary? Like, did this try to be scary at points? And I was like, not really. It is more of a mystery. There's some like moments, and then you get to
like
the last like
suspenseful.
10 minutes of it,
Mm-hmm.
and they like drag a corpse into a room, and then he crawls through it later when they're all skeletons, and he like goes up some stairs, and he's attacked by ghosts, and they do a bunch of jump scares, and I was like, where was all this like for the whole rest of the thing?
Yeah.
There are like some eerie noises and like creeping around in dark spaces that can be a little bit tense. But it went full like Halloween montage at the end and was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, like I almost like kind of forgot about that, which I think speaks to the fact that like I feel like that's not, to the extent that things do feel threatening or scary, like that's not what it is.
Right.
It's more like the nuclear radiation and like the I have to escape this space
Yep.
with like the ticking clock element.
I hate to break it to you, all skeletons, but you are not as afraid. I am not as afraid of skeletons as I am of nuclear death.
Not so spooky or scary anymore. I would be remiss to not mention that earlier on in the game, when you're exploring and they have like you're experiencing the environmental storytelling, you can check this medical chart in the medical bay.
You sure can.
And it's just like a list of like the patient's condition each day. Now, on Wednesday, it just says diarrhea, but it's written as Diarrhea Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we, nothing more to say about that other than we thought that was super funny.
Explains why he always eats beans on the toilet.
Yeah. Diarrhea Wednesday is the sequel to Taco Tuesday.
Yeah. Diarrhea Wednesday is an official NOCLIP holiday now. We used to release Pocket on Wednesday.
That's true.
So
that fell through pretty quick, though.
It much like when you have bad diarrhea.
Yeah, it ran right through us.
I also was struggling to figure out how I was going to shoehorn Diarrhea Wednesday into the podcast.
We just have to say it.
You do just have to say it. And we've said it.
Mm-hmm.
The game gives you a choice of ending.
Yeah.
And one of them is to leave, which is the obvious choice that it makes no sense that there's even another choice. And in the leave ending, you open the door and the light shines on your face and you make a face that's like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the stay ending, because the ghost of your mom is there and she's asking you to stay.
Right.
But unfortunately for her, the person actually controlling her son is not a real person. Yeah. And no one would choose to stay in the bunker that is being overtaken by radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And in that ending, she says, "Good boy," and then the door closes, and then the camera pans out. So it felt like the choice of ending was entirely unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like she did all of that stuff so he would live. Why does she now then want him to stay and die?
Well, notably, much like everyone else in the base, she is now a skeleton.
Of course.
On a bed. And so theoretically, he is the one who's convincing himself to stay.
Right, yeah, it's like a psycho.
But I don't know why he would think that she would want him to stay either. Who knows?
Well, I mean, he didn't know. Well, I guess he now knows about her plan. He, like, learns about it.
Yeah. Or he has, like, a revelation about it.
Yeah.
Looking back, which is where the audience presumably will also learn about it, as it quickly flashes through her reacting more negatively to things than it seemed like she was in the original scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have anything else specific really to talk about.
Nope, me neither.
Yeah.
Frank and Bean thoughts?
I wouldn't have come to that one, but I think it might be correct.
Flatulent thoughts?
Flatulent thoughts. Beans, the magical thoughts.
The more you think, the more of them you have.
So do you have any of those thoughts?
My Frank and Bean, flatulent, beans, they're good for your heart. The more you think, the more of them you have. Thoughts are, yeah, this is exactly the kind of game that we just like to find and play. So I had a good time with it. It does feel weird though. Like it doesn't have that like 90s FMV charm, but it does have its own surprising quality to it. I do think like the setting of the bunker, it is an interesting setting. Like it has an interesting hook at the beginning. I wanted to explore the bunker and to uncover what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately it doesn't let you explore or like kind of discover things for yourself as much. And it's more about just telling like a specific linear story, which I do think holds it back a little. I think it could have been more interesting to give you some more puzzles to solve or things to, meaningful choices and etc. So I think, I'm curious to check out. You said they have like 11 other games. Like I would definitely play another one. So yeah, I think it's a cool experiment, or like it's something new. So it feels different, and I think they're onto something. They have something here. If they can focus a little bit more on like the gameplay elements, make it a little bit more interactive, I would like to see that.
Yeah. I think nothing. I've never had a thought in my life. I think that pretty much what you said is the correct thing. I think that this game, with more of a focus on interactivity, which I understand before anybody comments about it.
Please comment.
Yeah. Also, after everyone comments about it, we do understand innately that adding additional interactivity means exponentially increasing the cost of making an FMV game, because you do have to film different things for whatever, for each branching path that you do. But I don't even necessarily think that what we mean is more interactivity in terms of turn this into an actual adventure game with a bunch of branching story decisions. It's more just give the player more of a reason to spend time in the space and feel like they are actually learning. I mean,
maybe you could uncover story beats non-linearly, or
these are all great ideas,
etc.
Things that you've already had filmed, and you can just sort of shuffle them around. Because as it stands, what you do in this game is sort of you read computer monitors and some files and things, and those are your big background story things. And it really it's not bad, and it just could be pushed a little bit more to make it really special, because this doesn't have the charm of playing a bad FMV game, but it also doesn't make me extremely excited about the new thing that it's doing. So the bunker is a cool thing that doesn't excel enough to be a hard recommend from me, nor does it fail enough for it to be a hard recommend for me. So it's more of this is one of the most niche things. If you were just interested in seeing what if a 2012 era Netflix film was made into an interactive format, this is actually pretty neat. If you liked Bandersnatch, this is actually less interactive than that, but still it's in the same sort of genre. So Yeah, check it out if you want to. Maybe wait. I think it's like $15 normally, which isn't a huge asking price. But if I'm really underselling it, maybe you can wait till it's on sale. I don't know how much I paid for it. But yeah, that's what I think. I think pretty cool. Thank you for listening to NoClip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
That depends. So, we are currently gearing up for an episode on Tears of the Kingdom, and due to circumstances, we probably won't be able to record it until late in June.
Mm-hmm.
So, the next episode may be some kind of pocket filler in between now and when that episode comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's going to be, what are we calling it? Fucking Spooktember in July.
Yes.
Yes, our new, I assume, extremely temporary theme month of Spooktember in July. Where we're going to be talking about some horror and horror adjacent games.
Yeah.
And the first of those that we'll be doing that will succeed this episode, if it is the next thing that comes out, will be a sort of an epilogue, half-ish, but we're going to be talking about the Resident Evil 4 remake. Which you might think, that's not really pocket length. And I said, I fought so hard for this. I didn't really
resist.
Yeah. But we did already talk about 4, so I thought, we'll just do like a quick one. Talk about the updates. But anyway, until that time, which may be soon or late, we'll find out. You can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at noclippodcast.com or on splattershot.pro. There you can find links to our Twitter account, our email address, the Discord server where you can suggest games for us to play or just talk about the games that we have played. Or talk about fucking whatever. Who cares? And you can find a link to our YouTube channel or listen to any of our old episodes, including ones on Realms of the Haunting and Night Trap. And Hellblade has some FMV in it, surprisingly. Harvester, yep, a classic. We've done more, but you'll have to look and find out. Ooh.
All right, I gotta get to the bathroom because it's Wednesday.
Is it one? It's not.
No. I'm just making
Tuesday.
A dumb joke.
Yeah, you're making a dump joke.
I'm making a dump joke.
Yeah,
yes.
there it is.